My name is Troy Thompson, and I'm a designer and an art consultant, and I work with clients getting them into spaces that are difficult at times. And I recently moved my mom into this space, and we basically took a 4-bedroom house and distilled it down into 2 rooms, and that can be incredibly challenging. I'm gonna try to give you a few tips, but they really depend. It's such an individual process. So when you're approaching this, the more time you have, the better. It is difficult to go through a lifetime worth of things and not be emotional about it. So it's taking the time to go through it is important. If you have time and friends that will help you with it, having another opinion will certainly make the process go more quickly. I'm really good at this, and it was so difficult to do it with my mom. It was all the items for me then had the same charge. I remember this from childhood, I remember this from this. Everything has a story. If you can step away from that and be a little bit more objective, it really helps the process and speeds the process. There's things that I can't throw away that, in all honesty, I think somebody else might think they're trash, but to me they are so emotionally charged that's probably the most difficult aspect of this, is not the physical. It's hard to fit too many things into a small place. The hardest part is the emotional aspect of letting go. And I look at this as a tremendous opportunity. I'm in a situation like my mom's, where we have all this neat stuff and we're downsizing it. I curated her life. And to me, that was a real positive. This is the distillation of all the best things that she has done. I've got I have 2 marriages. I have pieces of different households and whatnot. So what I typically do is then, when I have too much stuff, is I boil it down to creating small vignettes that will remind her of something, or a certain place or a certain time. I've got a table and chairs. These chairs don't go with that table, but they do now, and they work perfectly. That reminds her of her old huge dining table in 2 chairs. The game table was in a game room. That's all that's left in the game room, but that was that really means something to her. In a small space, you really are limited on what you kind of can accomplish. So in many ways, the small space is kind of dictating where I'm going to put things. Creating little areas of interest. Using color, you could really only use the colors that you're kind of given. My mom tends towards browns and rich, so I'm looking to add different things of shocks of color, but as I'm looking around, most of my color that is different are plants. If I was starting this from scratch, it would be different, but I'm not. My idea, if you're watching this and are doing it for your parents, it's not about you, it's about your parents. This is not how I would do it for myself. This is how I would do it for my mom. If you're doing it for yourself, think of how are you going to use it? I mean, when you're placing furniture, one of the questions I always ask is, how do you decide where things are going to go? In a small pit space, it really dictates itself. You have to be able to move around the space. So some of it is just really straightforward. Don't put things where you're going to bump into them. As you are getting older and are less able to navigate spaces, more is not more. Having more space to move around, and I base a good deal of my design for seniors around convenience. What is going to work? At the end of the day, what is most comfortable? What is easiest to walk in and through? And when I'm putting together furniture and stuff and when boiling it down, I'm doing it all within that guise. What do I need? I need a couch, I need a sitting area, I need to have a place for her to eat. Most of it is relatively obvious if you start kind of pulling it back, and you can find lists, top 10 lists of downsizing. And it's quite the topic now of downsizing and becoming more streamlined. So there's a ton of great resources on that, but it really comes down to the personal difficulty of letting go of things that you've had forever. So that half of it is a psychological thing. We were given the option to have this as a single studio or to divide it up. It would be it wouldn't be a very large room, but it would be a large room. By dividing this more or less in half, it really has created a sense of 2 spaces. There's a living room and a bedroom. And the bedroom I also have working double duty as an office. So when you're looking at a space like this, I think more of a hotel room or a hospitality space or even a cruise ship room where things are cleverly placed. Things are able to be put out of the way and pulled out when needed. And lack of clutter. My mom has so many things. I grew up in a furniture store. She owned a furniture store. So the amount of furniture that I've had to go through to kind of distill to this it's been a lot. But it was all done through through her eyes and what I thought she would want and what will keep her safe. Some of the things that she desperately wanted, rugs and such, she's gonna trip over and fall. So the hardest part of this is the emotional letting go of stuff. I mean, and there's no shortcut to that. One of my favorite aspects about moving to Hollenbeck was how much assistance they gave. Not only the helping with moving costs and whatnot, but what really was neat was their flexibility on flooring. They allowed us to paint the space. Actually, we didn't paint the space, they painted the space. They allowed us to choose the colors. We had a great deal of flexibility and they were very accommodating as far as changing things around. It's not a large space, but the changes that we made really did dramatically change it. The change of the colors, the change of the kind of how we laid out the room, and the flexibility there, and it was wonderful. Hollenbeck also had excellent referrals for assistance in moving, assistance in downsizing, organizational. I mean, they really pulled out all the stops and made us feel both welcome, but also helped facilitate the move.